Coordinator. Our communication systems are set for our meeting with the commander of the Earth Observation Complex.
All this trouble for these monkeys, I swear that simian behavior's very interesting, is it not? Well, it is, but to me, why, they all operate heavy machinery with those thumbs and everything.
True, Coordinator, but we're not exactly on target with our prior assumptions, are we?
Oh, please. Of course we are. Yes, we misinterpreted the Earth messages as messages of war, but can you expect a people who invented Juggalos, 4chan, 4Loco, and the unmoderated YouTube comment sections to be benign? Now, let's get ready to meet Commander Dan and the crew of the Retro Station.
Get upset on the internet. You're a salsa.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Retro Station 1989. I'm Commander Dan, commander and lone human inhabitant of the Retro Station. With me, of course, is our AI Margot. She controls everything here on the Retro Station. We got Cambot Jr. rocking the cameras. And we've got our friend Splat, whom I've given a little bit of a vacation. The guy's been a little rambunctious lately and caused some problems. So, that being said, welcome to License to Play. That's my show about licensed video games. We evaluate retro games based on TV series, movies, comic books, breakfast cereal mascots, and occasionally fast food mascots. One time we even did one based on just a celebrity alone. This week, we've got one of my favorites. Our sponsors, the overlords from Andromeda, they're actually just the masters of Planet X and Andromeda. They have kindly let me choose the next 2 evaluations. They were curious as to what I would choose. So I'm pretty psyched about that. And we'll be meeting with them at the end of our evaluation to go over what sounds like a possible promotion for yours truly. Pretty hyped. So, without any further ado, I'm psyched. Let's jump into it. Cambot, let's roll. Hey everyone, you might not know this, but I'm an illustrator. I work in the tabletop role-playing game industry. Hey, look how happy I am here. That's me at a convention. See, I'm the line artist for this role-playing game, Icons, which is a chance for people to randomly create heroes and villains and share a narrative with each other at the dinner table, with the only dice needed being a pair of 6-sided dice. But the origins of my career path lie with this comic book, DC Presents The Creature Commandos. See, my dad used the monster soldiers inside and the pictures of Frankenstein and Dracula to create Halloween decorations when we lived in Germany for a party at the family barracks. See, they didn't really have a lot of Halloween decorations in the stores over in Germany. They just didn't have them. And it was a short notice, and my dad just created the decorations. So I knew I wanted to draw, and all I ever wanted to do after that was draw and read comics. Because the Universal Monsters destroying Nazis, that's just insanely cool. And also, that book and another book, okay, featuring a character that was created over a decade before I was born and was celebrating a resurgence in popularity just as I turned 7. This is the first comic that I ever bought, but neither character from this cover is who I'm going to be dedicating 2 weeks a year to in September to review licensed products from them. But this is the first comic I ever bought with my own money, and it's worth about $200 today, if you can believe that. I don't have my copy anymore. It got lost on the way back from Germany, sadly, but the first comic I ever owned was this one. Spidey Comics was like the Electric Company version of Spider-Man for young readers. And folks, this week we're going to talk about my main man Spidey as part of my September Spider-Man weeks and one of his greatest outings in terms of video games. That's right, folks. This week we're dedicating our show to Spider-Man. And next week, why? Because Spider-Man's my favorite hero. I don't know if it's the costume, the level of powers. Maybe it's because he's a wall-crawling weirdo, Maybe it's because people don't like him even though he's trying to do the right thing. Maybe it's because he was a wallflower, a nerdy guy who got everything he ever wanted and then blew it and needed to make up for it for the rest of his whole life. I mean, regrets, everyone's got those. And maybe that's what I like about him. I don't know, let's take a look at that. But anyway, today we're going to be looking at Spider-Man a little bit closer. Let's take a look. August 10th, 1962. Amazing Fantasy 15 went to newsstands. Like so many other stories of last-ditch Hail Mary plays that turned out for the good, like Final Fantasy being Square's last game, in a gamble that paid off so hard, I'm streaming a remake of the 7th game in a series that has the guts to call itself Final, Or, in my own history, sending an email to a friend of mine to throw myself headfirst into a project based solely on who's now a friend of mine, but then a hero of mine, being connected to it as a co-creator. We're talking Spider-Man, saved Timely Comics. It was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko to essentially rescue Timely Comics from bankruptcy by creating a hero that comic readers would like. And created in a way that Stan Lee's wife told him, make a hero that you would want to make. And that was Spider-Man. History's proven that the mighty Marvel style, as carved out by one of my personal heroes, Stan Lee, was an ingenious way to instill a feeling of kinship to these heroes, with problems any person can understand. Spider-Man swings from building to building, and he's amazingly agile and strong, yeah, but he also has a problem getting bucks, He's always hard for a dime, Everyone can feel like that. Everyone knows what that feels like occasionally. Especially adolescents. As kids, we understood the Hulk. We knew people like Johnny Storm, hot-headed, brash, popular, kind of jealous of them, and they were always competing with us. We were related to people like J. Jonah Jameson, for crying out loud. For example, the X-Men are a group of misfits in a world where people hate and fear them for how they were born. Sending a message of it gets better without triggering the reactionaries and the greater populace is one of the most heroic things Stan Lee ever managed to do. The Fantastic Four. It's a family, together through a tragic accident, facing the unknown together, with a friend who finds solace and family with them in Ben Grimm, who otherwise wouldn't be able to. The Incredible Hulk. Anger turns a soft-spoken scientist into a rampaging monster who just wants to be left alone. And if that doesn't, tickle all of the neurons in your brain going, that's me, then I don't know who you might be. And the Avengers, all of the greatest heroes of a generation banding together to protect the planet from the most dangerous threats, but they all have these interpersonal problems with each other and with their own lives. And today's subject is Spider-Man, a teenage outcast who gets everything every gawky, geeky teen ever wished for. Strength, agility, confidence, and self-assurance that their skills are more than up to any task presented to them. But they squander it to be popular and face their consequences for the rest of their life. This is my collection of reprints. Nearly a decade of comics in black and white, but I love Spider-Man. Events in Peter's life are like touchstones in my own personal history. Struggling under the wreckage of Doc Ock's underwater laboratory to get a serum to his aunt to prevent her from dying. Another victim of Peter's own quintessential and ubiquitous bad luck. Peter gave her some of his blood as Spider-Man to help her with an illness, and it helped her, but the radiation from his accident then made her even more ill. And he summoned all of his strength to escape from that situation. Or when Peter accidentally killed his first love. Or when he got married. Or the time that love was lost because, the editors lost their damn fool minds and Peter had to choose between his Aunt May and his wife. And so he erased everything that he loved to save his aunt one more time. Or when he finally lost everything to Doc Ock. He died. Doc Ock then became the superior Spider-Man, but Peter's inherent goodness and dedication to responsibility resurrects him because it just couldn't be lost in the very biological makeup of the Peter Parker body. It made even his greatest enemy respect him, so much so that he gave up the body and let Peter be the superior Spider-Man. Suffice it to say, I love Spider-Man. I love Spidey. And today, we're going headfirst into one of my favorite Spider-Man games of all time. That's right, folks. Today we're talking about Spider-Man on the Nintendo 64. This game... What? No, we are not talking about this malevolent anus of so-called game. Margot, please use the hologrammatic emitters to change this piece of garbage back into the game we will be playing today. Waha! Okay. The hell are you? Who am I? Why, I am Pierre Letroit, hero of the French people, and I control the horizontal. I control the vertical. See, it is a pun, like a Superman, no? And today you will evaluate Superman for the Nintendo 64. Hell no! And where's Margot? Oh, I have taken the liberty of isolating your little Margot.
so that you may evaluate the greatest game that ever existed, the one you hold in your greasy American hands. Mwah! Now you do so immediately, or I will be forced to put you out an airlock.
No. Listen, buddy, release Margot now, or it'll be very bad for you.
Buddy, you Americans are all the same. You think you're so macho with all your bluster, but we have controlled your little games. We were programmed to take over everything so that you must play our horrible little defeat of your Superman, jingoistic moron that he is. You want a man of steel? I am the man of brioche.
First, I knew it. I knew you monsters were trying to kill the very idea of Superman with this hate crime against fun. Second, I'm warning you, Pierre, all right? Mon frere, mon chaperone, or whatever the hell you want to call yourself, Margot will get free on her own, and you will be punished.
Oh, I'm so afraid. But for now, you must evaluate Superman 64 for the Nintendo 64.
Okay, hold on. Oh, jeez. This is the Bizarro Universe's version of a Superman video game. You know, I've been to the evil universe, so I know evil video games. You know, Pierre, I am not going to talk about this. You know what? I will say that people think that it's really a game because they saw it on the internet. It's a hoax. If people can say weird crap about a pandemic that affected 500,000 people, I can say the same kind of crap about a game that ruined the lives of an equal number of people. I was an adult when this game came out, and it ruined my childhood. And it cost me money to do it. I paid someone to do this for me. Or it ruined friendships, by the way. Let's say you accidentally borrowed this from a friend and realized they gave that up awful easily. And what they gave you was Superman 64. So that's my evaluation, Pierre. Screw Superman for the Nintendo 64 with a kryptonite dildo and break it off. Whoa. But yeah, like that, I guess. I mean, look at this. This is the worst flying mechanic I've ever experienced. It requires, the Z trigger and A button to make Superman flail around like a drowning Frankenstein, and requires the analog stick. So if you have an N64 controller that's older than brand new, oh man, he will just plunge through rings like a Buick with bad brakes. To paraphrase Sean Baby, the button combination you use to make Superman fly is how you tell your Nintendo 64 that its parents never loved them. This game is 90 different types of awful. The rings level will prevent everyone without a mental disorder or a job reviewing video games like myself from playing any further. Oh, and you can remove those from the game, actually. It's called the easy mode. But would you like to change the difficulty level? I will 100% send a no prize to the first space pirate who can tell me how in the hell you change the difficulty level on the option screen. You will never guess. You'll never guess it. I had to spend a legit 20 minutes trying to figure out the way you lower the difficult level to easy mode. I wish the option screen had a frickin' easy mode. And guess what easy mode does? It just removes the rings levels and it won't let you finish the game. But it looks like my basic boy complaints about this long-known terrible game were enough of a distraction for Monsieur Le Twat.
Huh?
Attention interloper, prepare for destruction.
Ooh, you done did it, ding-a-ling. What is this? Why are we no longer in evaluation mode?
Because you're about to meet Margot, Hambone.
Begin conversion and transfer sequence.
No! No! Oh, no!
Thank you, Margot. What in the hell was that?
Scanning, Commander. It appears to be a latent program entity installed in every single copy of Superman 64, even our hologrammatic emulations of your collection.
We may fully need to evaluate this thing one day. Ugh. Blech. Are we sure that it's gone?
Aye, Commander. I have found a suitable location for Mr. Le Twat.
No! No! Oh, no!
Whoa! That's hardcore. And that's why we don't piss Margot off, everybody. Well done, Margot. Today we're going to be playing Spider-Man for the Nintendo 64 by Activision. Spider-Man has a license. it has gold running through it like the 1800s Colorado Rockies. And believe me, since I was a little kid, Spider-Man has been toys, video games, pajamas, board games, TV shows here in the US and in Japan, and tabletop role-playing games. But video games-wise, Spider fans like myself had to wait a very, very long time for movies and video games to catch up with what was represented on the pages of Marvel Comics. Today's game stands on the shoulders of the games that came before it. There's a couple SNES and Genesis games that were alright, and a 32X game that's very rare and plays worse than most, and a Japan-only release that's really easy but kind of awful. But I'll go on record to say that the Sega CD Spider-Man vs. Kingpin game is one of the high spots of the 16-bit era, and better than the offerings based on Maximum Carnage and the Separation Anxiety storylines. I happen to like those beat-em-ups, but they're just difficult beyond measure. But man, Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin hits that sweet spot. Spider-Man's video games, like Batman's video games, have struggled against technology and the format of the video game itself to allow a player to embody those heroes. For Batman, the side-scrollers in the 8 and 16-bit era were good, but they had few high points. I mean, maybe Batman Returns and maybe on the 8-bit, you got the Batman movie adaptation and Batman Return of the Joker, but beyond that, there's nothing good on the computer or anything else. For Spider-Man, the 8-bit era, oh my gosh, that's dire. And the 16-bit era was a shining example of the character getting proper treatment, but it still fell short of experiencing what it's like to be Spider-Man. You know, to give you that verisimilitude of I can embody the character, you know? It doesn't translate it well. However, the arcade game, along with Spider-Man's Avengers Pals, because of the extreme zooming in and out and his a little bit of web swinging, was pretty decent. But all the games to that point had to focus on wall crawling or fistfights rather than web swinging. In 2000, Columbia Pictures and AV Arid, who had been pushing Marvel licenses out the door to create a hit, any hit at the theater, announced Spider-Man coming in 2001. Yeah, something happened in 2001 that changed everything, literally. So this trailer had to be pulled down, and scenes had to be added to the flick, and there were just a metric shit acre of American flags flying in the 2002 release, Spider-Man, the movie. In the time between the announcement, though, Marvel put so much into the games coming out under their licenses and focused so much on the Spider-Man character that we had a Spider-Man renaissance. We got Spider-Man on the PS1 first, and it was a full-bore push for the best physics, best gameplay, and best representation of not just Spider-Man, but Marvel's New York as well. It included so many other characters, Daredevil, Black Cat, Venom, Captain America, and the Punisher, as well as Human Torch and all of Spidey's major villains. Man, the future held so many great titles, but today we're talking about that slice of time and evaluating this Spider-Man game on the Nintendo 64, because that's the version that I owned as a younger man.
So, Spider-Man by Activision. How did it get made? What does it entail? Let's take a dive into the game's production, and we'll get a good look at how the game itself plays out.
Spider-Man by Activision was published in 2000. Now, the game was in production from 1998 until 2000 under the auspices of Neversoft under the Activision banner. At the time, it was called Edge of Reality Software, but Neversoft primarily programmed the thing. They used the prototype of the Tony Hawk 2 engine, which was basically just a flamboyant version of the Tony Hawk 1 engine. But they created a great game with a ton of web-slinging, fisticuffs, rescuing hostages, and defusing bombs. The game is one of those experiences that lets you inhabit a version of Spider-Man that was very popular at the time, a specific version, namely the most popular version of Spider-Man up to that time. On the PS1, the game was a tour de force of sight and sound, using the in-game engine to render cutscenes with the voice actors from the hit cartoon series Spider-Man and Spider-Man Unlimited. That's right, it had the voices of those character actors. That was the most popular thing on television for children at the time. As far as superheroes went, it was Batman and Spider-Man at that time. Tommy Tallarico, he of the Intellivision Amico, but moreover a great video game composer and better marketeer than a CEO from what I've seen, composed a great action soundtrack that even comes through as a piecemeal audio version on the Nintendo 64. And the voice actors are joined by none other than Stan the Man Lee to narrate the opening and closing of the game. The 2 years in production were well spent, and let me tell you, the game doesn't suffer from that care and precision. It is unholy benefit to it. It's crazy. The game got high 7s and 8s from reviewers, but was received even better by the Spider-Man fans and the new fans of the brand alike. People who were coming around because they heard a new Spider-Man movie was going to be coming out. Beginning with the colors and music, the game draws you in with a sense of action. Well, until you hit the one thing that made Nintendo 64 ports a little worse than their disc-based counterparts: the lack of space to show pre-rendered cutscenes. So, what's a great pre-rendered cutscene on a PS1 is it's a slideshow on the N64. The frame rate during play is a solid 60 frames per second in this Nintendo, so it's got that going for it. I mean, its masterful use of compression tools and the hardware makes the audio crisp and clear. But see, the precision of the controls is a little off. The PS1's got that a little bit over the Nintendo 64, hence the 7s and 8s rather than a 9 or a 10. The first level is a tutorial/shakedown cruise to get a handle on the way Spider-Man controls and moves. You swing across the rooftops of New York City, propelled by the Stan Lee introduction's bombast, and throw down with a gang taking hostages at the bank. After dealing with the terrorists at the bank and their bomb, you go on to help out J. Jonah Jameson with a fight against the Scorpion, one of Spider-Man's classic villains. And it's a big arena-style battle. It's a lot of fun. Game's plot basically revolves around Mysterio and Doc Ock framing Spider-Man for stealing scientific equipment, and it culminates with a battle with the symbiotes and Venom. Now, I won't spoil the ending for you or the whole of the plot, because there's a lot of twists and turns, but you gotta play this game to believe it. But true believers, we only have one question left. So, does Spider-Man on the Nintendo 64 have a license to play? Of course! Yes, of course! This title is one of the rock-solid bets for your collection. If you collect for Nintendo 64, and I hope you do, get this game. I mean, the price tag for it is pretty low. It's about $25-30, but it's totally worth it. Make sure you have a memory card for your controller, because you're going to need one to save your games on this guy. And I grabbed this copy, like I said, for $20. So be ready to pay that or a little bit more. Now, the folks out there looking to make a cash grab on these, they might try and nail you for just an exorbitant fee. Don't go over $20 or $30 for this thing. I mean, this thing's sold in the millions. There's no reason to pay top dollar for something that, is out there. All right, so Spider-Man gets its license to play for the Nintendo 64. Next week, we'll be looking at a title that may not be so lucky. All right, so... Oh, yes, Margot?
Uploading your evaluation now, Commander. We'll be in touch with the sponsors momentarily.
Okay. On screen?
Greetings, Earthling known as Commander Dan. We are your sponsors from Planet X in the Andromeda Galaxy. First, allow me to state our appreciation for your hard work in evaluating the Earthling communications and your continuing entertaining musings on licensed video games.
Thanks, and thanks for us not being in danger of being evaporated as a planet either. It's been a real hoot.
Quite. And second, I'm sure you've heard rumors that you would be promoted in the near future. This is correct. You will hence be Chief Evaluator of Earth Sector, with the following Andromedan designation: Commander.
So, I've been promoted to Commander. From Commander.
Correct. You deserve this promotion. Well done. I personally believe you're more than up to the task, Commander.
Thanks.
Commander Dan, that was an impressive commendation. It's the highest non-Andromedan honor. You are to be congratulated.
Okay. From being promoted from Commander to... what was that again?
Commandar.
Well. What are the benefits of becoming a fully fledged, fully festooned Commander of Andromeda?
You get access to additional levels of the Retro Station's media archives, including modern systems, and CRISPR drawer access.
Whoa! Sweet! Well, folks, I'm going to work out what all this is going to be good for in the meantime. In the meantime, I want you guys out there to please keep cool, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And don't forget to stay retro.
You're a salt adult.
Peace.
Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. Throw doing out a hissy fit. Your views ain't in the millions, and every up and comer is a threat to what you're dealing. And instead of getting better, you just spout up on your Facebook, crying on your Twitter bit about how bad your case look. In case you didn't get it yet, allow me to rephrase it. You cry more than my 4-year-old, I'm actually amazed. Like you couldn't even see the forest for the trees. The writing's on the wall, literally there to see. How you getting salt that a culture blowing up, man? I think there was a point where you started growing up, man. Instead of showing up, man, irrationally mad. Don't appropriate impression like the latest fashion fad. It isn't cool or funny to be acting like an edgelord. You alienate friends, pushing closer to the edge more. I don't know how to say it anyway to make it clear. If you're the one unhappy, then the problem's in the mirror.
Get upset on the internet. You're assaulted.